start lesson says, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. Basically, what's going on here today is, I don't know if the title is updated wherever you're watching, but going from St. Petersburg, or yeah, St. Petersburg to what's his name? It's normally a 2 hour trip, so hopefully it will be just that. Doesn't make any
Make a U-turn. In a quarter of a mile, turn left. Turn left. In a quarter of a mile, turn right. Turn right. quarter of a mile, turn left. Turn left. In a quarter of a mile, turn right onto the slip road. Turn right onto the slip road. Then, take the slip road. Take the slip road.
C.H. Robinson called, but I didn't answer. Hello? Yes, hello. It's an hour and 22 minutes. It says 8:22. Hello? 8:22. Yeah, 8:22. If everything goes. Yes.
In 2 miles, take the interchange. In half a mile, take the interchange. Take the interchange.
Very, very slick. Your mother's corn is about to get your mother's corn. Dude, all you do is left it outside. You didn't plant it. You threw bird seed on the fucking ground. But you do it on your mom. Okay, if I go move in to someone's house, right? And I spill fucking milk, right, behind the toilet, and I never cleaned it. And then it started to grow mushrooms. Who mushrooms is that? No, it's not. They need a lot more time than whatever you got. They probably give you some baby corns like in a Chinese restaurant. Busy. So you're gonna kill it, great. Okay, so you're going to kill that plant. You trying to love it is going to kill it. Evidently. Pretty much. Salvia. Well, the weather is the weather. The trip is the trip. And basically that's it. So you can find it easy, huh? Yes. Good little busybody. Right. That's good. Yes, it is. Good old Jenny Flex. Stand it. That's nice. Make sure that was nice. I'm going to Memphis tomorrow, and then I should be back. What is it? Fucking 13. No, I can't be 13. Probably the 16. I made a mistake. Probably be there before that. I think I'm gonna be there at 16. I don't think so. And I'm leaving right away. Yeah, it's gonna be too many in between. I mean, maybe if I go and come back, but I mean, I know you don't really need to get there. You won't you don't be with your family. It's like it's different if you were going to, if it was graduation or some type of. If it was something like big, I will probably go if you ask me. But it's just your birthday and you're straight. But tell me how you felt. I don't really I should just accomplish my dreams and go. motherfucker with their first radio. Yeah, so. Well, I managed to save my first $10,000 by the time I come back. Yep, so that means I'm 20% away to my goal. And it was quick too. Alright. So what else you gonna do for your big day? I thought you was gonna say, yeah, everybody can click notice how much they left me on these shits. And pass it to me. God damn. And then they can pass it to me while I'm writing my clinic, along with somebody. Fucking asshole. Trust me, it's good. It's a good thing to have. It's not the worst thing in the world. Trust me. Yeah. It's not. It's better than being surrounded by people you hate. The games are nice though. Here to track. Oh, they're cute. Yeah, but they're not hard spikes. All you're gonna do is just put them in a cage and just look at them. You ain't gonna play with them. You're not gonna pet them. So, what the fuck do you mean if it's a camellia? So that make a difference if you play with them or not? I understand that, but you have a colorful ass bird that you just keep in the fucking cage. Okay, so you put on gloves and get, bro. He's never gonna stop biting you if you stop playing with him. You understand that you tame him, he's a reflection of you. How much work you put into that bird is how fucking much he's gonna bite you. Okay, so it requires just a little bit of work. Screw, that bird was with somebody else. Okay, alright, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you should get a chameleon. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Very nice. Alrighty. Matter of fact, I'm going over there by your uncle now. Fort Meyers. Yeah, that's what I gotta deliver. What did you say? What? Why they treat that little baby like that? but so what if she bad? She's a kid. But did he really say that? No, I don't believe it. I know you don't care. The question is, did he really say that? Why? Yeah, but she's a child and he's an adult. He need to grab her and beat the shit out of her and give her a hug and a kiss. Why he can't do that? They grab Galen and beat the shit out of her too. Hide some eggs and onions. I'm just fucking with you. God damn, I can't even make a joke, nigga. Damn. But she was thinking about it, nigga. And she just sitting there, I'm like, oh, now this here got a big surprise, nigga. There's a damn ostrich egg up in there. It's a goddamn dinosaur egg she's sitting on. Right by the front door. How's your mom? Yeah. She feeling that I knew she was sad. Still? I know you're good at cheering people up. I know. Have you tried? Oh my god. You sat here and hold her hand and hugged her, talked with her. Okay. So you do retail therapy. Therapeutic. Okay, just oh, where are y'all going to do that thing? At the same place that made the cake? But there's a pancake too. A cake one too. It's your mama share. I'm in shock. There's an asshole beside me. Instead of this nigga getting over, he just fucking sit right beside me. And a big ass fuel tanker was trying to get on the freeway. I really feel like I understand road rage. Like, I would like to just like throw 3 bullets into that motherfucker and just roll the dice. I know. That's why I gotta get out of Florida, because it made me this way. I really am calm as shit. I wish I had a big ass jug of piss. I would just fucking throw that shit through the windshield. But I had threw out my piss jug this morning, so it's kind of fucked up. I try to be. I don't want somebody to control my own emotions. This nigga sat beside me for like 10 miles. And now I wanted to get over. There's a fuel tanker getting on the freeway. I put on my blinkers. Did my blinkers work? Yes, they do. So I don't understand. It's just people are, but they say, never attribute malice to what can be contributed to stupidity. So it's not that he's evil, he's just dumb. And when you think about things in those terms, it's like, well, you gotta forgive them because they're retards. They're like, they have the fluoride stare, they're probably vaccinated, they're probably, it's probably fat as shit, dick don't work. He's got a wife that fucks him up, like he goes home, all she does is just nag at him. So his life is literal hell. So this him not moving over is like his final stand, you know? In some way, that's how he takes back his power from otherwise hellish landscape for him. It's like, I guess I wouldn't know why anybody else would do some shit like that, especially when it could potentially kill you. Like, I could kill this motherfucker. What if I decide, you know what? What if I decided that I'm tired of people fucking with me on the road, so I'm just gonna run right into him, but I'm gonna run into him in a way that I make sure I kill him. Like, no, it's not my ass, because they'll just be like, well, it's an accident. That's the thing people don't realize. These trucks, right? They can say I'm negligent, okay, whatever. But I can still find a job someplace else and do it again. Like, it takes a while for nobody to hire you. And I know a lot of truck drivers are, well, not a lot, but I would say if there were any group of people on the job that were more inclined to do evil shit, I would say truck drivers have the easiest job to do it, because it's hard to trace somebody that be in multiple states. I mean, yeah, you got a cell phone and shit, but if you're smart enough, you could actually be a serial killer as a truck driver. It'll be the perfect job. I know it was like one that got away with it for a long time. Well, it's scary, but it's just, I guess it's better to be mindful about it than to just be in fear of it. But yeah, man, motherfuckers just don't know. Like, what if I just snap one day and I say, you know what? This motherfucker playing with me, I'm gonna run into him and run straight off the road with him in front of me and make sure I hit a brick wall, so that, nigga, when they pull him out the truck, all they squeeze out is juice. It's just chunks and bits. I know that's not me, darling. But I'm just saying, what do you mean? Like, it's just a thought. Like, we just talked to you. Like, I said what I said. And of course I'm gonna do this shit, because it's not even worth it. Then what if he survives? He's gonna become a millionaire off of me. Like, hell no, I won't let that nigga trick me out of money like that. Like, fuck. Fuck Tony, I'm trying to murder. Tony gonna be next. Nigga, after I knock this nigga off, I'm driving straight to the yard for Tony at. They're like, yo, what the fuck? I'ma just rev up the truck. Fuck all that bullshit. I'm gonna try to knock the goddamn free Frito juice out of Tony bitch ass. Yeah? Yeah. All them gallo pintos coming out, nigga. Queso frieres, all them shit coming out. Huh? No, because he could just be coming for the free tango full of food. And when that truck hits his ass, he gonna be like a pinata of fucking gallo pinto, a gallo pinto pinata, a gallo pinto nada. Yeah. I feel good. I can't complain, man. You know the funny thing about like, okay, when I have a goal, right, I try to gamify that shit. What I mean by gamify is I make it to where it's a game to me. So what I'll do is, how do you find out how close you are to your goal? Well, you make like a level or some shit. So right now I'm on the 10 level, right? And my goal is to make it to 100. So basically, the more money that I save is the closer I am to that goal that I have in mind. And the more money, much as I come up, that's my goal, and I just keep going up. So like right now, I'm 20% to my goal. So I'm like, okay, damn, nigga, 20%. So let's see how much you gonna push it. And the more that I push it, the more closer I get. Is the more, it's just like a game. I try not to think about the day to day. I think about the long term. I guess. Then I try to break up the monotony by going to the gym, my diet, exercise, streaming, and whenever I could, I play games, but it's like a rare thing. And even then, by the time I get sit down and ready to play a game, nigga, I'll be so goddamn tired, I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna take my ass to sleep. And only thing I can say is it got me in shape. That's about it. Yeah, hell yeah. Even this, like they say, oh, you're the best driver and all this fuck shit. I'm like, man, I tell you what. Only because I can work with y'all. If I could talk to y'all, if I got a fucking problem, I tell y'all, hey, this is my fucking problem. But all the bullshit, like when people want you to do ridiculous shit, like the other day they had a drop. They had a me doing some shit and two drops. This is in Pennsylvania. I don't like doing that. I said, look, what is the point of me doing this? Why can't I just do it this way? They're like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. So that's how I did it. But with them, I can appreciate it because I can like talk with them. If they were just cunts, man, I couldn't do it. Yeah. What? Okay. Nice. Okay. Cool. we got into a little argument the other day, and then she called me back. Yeah, she was mad about the boy, and I'm like, nigga, you shouldn't even, you stressing yourself out, and now you all pissed off, and that's affecting me. And you should just like leave the nigga alone. If you playing done with him, all this and that, then what the fuck you stress out about the nigga you ain't even really fucking with like that? Yes. Like, bro, you should have been throwing him in the trash, but I understand what it is, so I ain't really, whatever the fuck, but she didn't take kindly to that shit, so she didn't call me for the morning, and she was like, oh, that's because I was late. I'm like, yeah, right, nigga. I was gonna say, because I got mad, I'm like, man, if you was gonna throw me in the trash for him, I would have had to let you know, hell no, you're not, because you're stuck with me, you little bitch. She said, nah, it wasn't that. She all smiling and shit. No, that wasn't it. It was just, I'm like, yeah, alright, nigga, you better tighten up. But shit, fuck the both of y'all. You better call me. Yes. And I'm like, man, you got that nigga waiting thinking everything is sweet. Meanwhile, if he would have known all this fucking chaos, he probably wouldn't even be fucking with you like that. You gotta dance with the people who wanna dance with you. Stop trying to fucking, yeah, that's some real nigga shit. Oh, you're talking about yourself, is it?
I said, really good shit.
Yeah, so basically that was it. Love is good, but it got its shitty parts too. I don't know, I still want to believe in love, and like, just because that shit didn't work for me or whatever, that don't mean that it's all bad and fuck love. I mean, now I'm on my goals, so I don't really care. But if I was smart, I would have put my goals before I put love or trying to pursue any type of relationship. Because now I would be in the right place in life at this time instead of playing catch up. But just the same, while I believe in God, I do believe, it's not that I believe in him, I trust in him. It's like, that wasn't my destiny. That wasn't path he had for me. So I think that now, it had to be this way. Otherwise, I would have never appreciated it. So, to comprehending, God damn, bud. You be getting injury.
Thank you.
As far as I know, no. It would be nice, but if I never accomplished what I was set to do in this world, then I would never have kids because I wouldn't be a good father to them, and I don't want to be like all these loser bullshit ass niggas that no, because how can a man that hasn't satisfied his life goals be how can you give, like, that's the problem. People just kind of fucking like tumble their way through life and they tumble their way through parenting. Like, okay, nigga, you didn't even fulfill your life. So how the fuck are you gonna raise a nigga into maturity and tell him like the best way of accomplishing like being seeking fulfillment in his fucking life? I mean, not to say you can't be a good father just because you didn't do your goals, but the type of nigga when I'm trying to be, man, I would, it would be unacceptable. I wouldn't accept myself as a parent. I wouldn't feel I'd be doing the kid justice. And it's a lot of pressure on me that I put on myself because my homeboy was murdered and shit. My plumbing works. Ain't shit wrong with my dick. The problem is these bitches and the receptacle for this shit. Not trying to have no kids with no woman that's gonna make my life a living hell. Like I say, I'm not in control of my emotions fully as I like to be. If a bitch try me, is liable to be some shit that you'll see on the news, and I hate to think like that. But yes, and I know myself enough. That's why I say, man, all that love shit, all that relationship shit, I don't want to part of it because I've seen what it can turn me into, so, and I don't want to be that. Well, yes, it's a type. It's that type inside of everybody. Yes, you're right too. I didn't work a long time ago. That's before I knew better. I don't know. But that's about the time that I found out that forever is very soon. Forever is sooner than you would think. A lot of times, forever mean it don't mean the same amount of time you would think. Forever is quicker than you would imagine, but yes. can I do is what I'm doing now. That's what I should have been doing. Just focus on yourself. You know, they always used to say like you will never ever regret investing in yourself, and Lord knows. So I mean, I would say everybody has potential, me especially, but it's wasted if you don't do anything with it.